Good afternoon, attendees, panelists. My name is Shamika Leacock. I serve as the Associate Director of Community here at the James Beard Foundation. Just want to give you a little bit of information about our foundation before I kick it over to our team at the Career Food Foundation. The James Beard Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to both celebrate, support, and elevate the people behind America's food, culture, and champion a standard of good food anchored in talent, equity, and sustainability. To learn more about our JBF programs, our events, and initiatives, please visit us at jamesbeard.org or platform by jbf.org. We're honored again this year. This is our first webinar for 2024 to collaborate with the Queer Food Foundation with the series Queer All Year. We welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar featuring queer Black chefs in honor of Black History Month. I'd like to kick things off with the co-founder and chef, Vanessa Parrish.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. We're really grateful for everyone being here. My name is Vanessa Parrish. I am private chef and the executive director of the Queer Food Foundation. So we've got a really great panel for you folks. I'm really excited to see all the faces of these Black queer excellence leaders. I'm going to introduce them to you. And so the first one we've got is Kareem Mr. Bakes Queenman, our moderator, and also a QFF advisory member. Kareem is the founder and owner of Mr. Bake Sweets, and he has an instructional YouTube channel, Mr. Bake with Mr. Bake. He's always pushing boundaries for flavor and artistic design. This has led him to compete and win on Bake It Like Buddy, shows on Discovery Family. He was on Beat Bobby Flay, and most recently, you can find him as a judge on Food Network's Buddy versus Duff Season 3. We also have Selasi, which is the chef and owner of Elide Test Kitchen. I think I got that right. Born in Ghana, raised in the American South. They went on to work in several well-known Michelin-rated restaurants in San Francisco and Oakland, such as Avery, Lazy Bear, and High Felicia. Currently based in Oakland, the Test Kitchen has been elevated fine dining pop-up concept, offering chef's table, supper club, and other culinary experiences. We also have Journey Rain from Dallas, Texas, currently living in Los Angeles. Journey continued her journey in hospitality by majoring in hospitality administration and became a restaurant manager shortly after. She's opened Grits and Waffles, a Southern-inspired brunch concept in February of 2022. This operation has received LA Times Best of Brunch Award. They have been catering several events for the LA Clippers, LA Rams, Netflix, and many more. They also had Stevie Wonder come to their restaurants, which I thought was really cool. And then, of course, last but not least, Rashida Holmes began her career in 2008 in Baltimore, working at a local Italian restaurant while attending culinary school. In 2010, Holmes moved to Pittsburgh to work with the James Beard nominated Big Burrito Group at their Pan-Asian restaurant, Soba. And then shortly after moving to LA, she accepted a chef de cuisine position to open the French-inspired Terrine in West Hollywood. Been there. After positions as executive sous at Freehand Hotel in Botanica and Silver Lake, Holmes began the pop-up concept Bridgetown Roti in 2019 as an ode to her Afro-Caribbean roots. And I don't know if you guys have heard about Bridgetown Roti, but it has had many media highlights: New York Times, LA Times, Bon App, Wall Street Journal, and Best Pop-Up of the Year by Esquire, and has currently been nominated as a semifinalist for Outstanding Chef for the JBF Award of 2024. So very excited for all these illustrious people in the building, excited for the conversation. I hope you enjoy, and I'll let Kareem take it over.
Thank you so much, James Beard, and thank you so much, QFF Vanessa. I appreciate it. And thank you so much to all of my panelists for being here today and giving us your time. We really do appreciate that. And I'm going to kick it off because I'm hot, I'm ready. It's Black History Month. We're Black and we're queer, and I know you guys are so excited to just share your journey. Before we get into the questioning, so I got some really good questions for you guys. I would like everybody just to go around. I know they gave out introductions, but I want to know, what is your favorite Black or anything on a Black diaspora dish? Like, what is your favorite dish? It can be one dish. I'll start with mine. It's probably going to be a homage to my grandmother, which is a coconut layer cake.
I'll go next. My favorite black, that's a long list. Just one. I think it might be fried catfish. I've kind of been on a catfish kick lately, and honestly, that fish does not get enough love, and I really do love it. So I'm gonna go with fried catfish.
Right.
I don't know if you have ESPN or what, but I was literally asking it. And now I have to change my answer. Y'all come back to me.
Oh,
Not the
She done
ESPN.
stole my answer.
Well, I will go next. I'm gonna go with suya. I call it the West African barbecue spice. Kareem, I know you know about it. You were just in Ghana. Yeah, suya. Anything with suya, throw it on the grill. I'm here for it.
I got to teach you how to make that.
See, everything I'm thinking of is a cheat, right? So right after catfish, I was gonna say collard green dip, but it's a cheat because not a lot of places have it, and it's something that we serve at my restaurant, and absolutely phenomenal. I'm from Texas. We like things fried. It comes with fried. We fry our tortillas to make our own chips. So I'm gonna say collard green dip since Rashida stole my catfish.
Listen, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. I want to warm it up a little bit. So I want to ask you guys a question. Can you share a time where you felt that your queerness and or blackness was questioned in the kitchen during your just during your journey?
I'm gonna start with that. Like I said, I'm from Dallas, Texas, and Dallas is very segregated. So where I come from is majority Black. Like I think between K through 12, I had 3 white classmates. Like, so when I moved to Los Angeles, it was a huge culture shock for me. Working in the culinary field, I did mostly restaurant management. I felt like I was always underestimated. I was never given an opportunity to move up, but I was always given an opportunity to train people who were my boss. So I feel like sometimes you get looked at almost less than, like you can't possibly, and God, throw in a mohawk and a pink hair, and clearly I'm not qualified to do anything that I've done 24 years ago in the school for. And as far as queerness, I think that we're Black. You can see we're Black. You can see that. But you can't see all the time that we're queer. And so when we are vocal about it, I get a lot of backlash. Like I've gotten a lot of backlash via Instagram for even stating that we are LGBTQ owned. It's weird.
Yeah. I think early in my career, my getting sexually harassed in kitchens and like explaining that I was queer, I think they were like, "Oh, you're just using that excuse to like not date me." So that was a frustrating experience I had very early. I mean, it's talking about 2008, so it was a different time for sure in kind of kitchen culture. But actually, when I moved to LA, I felt that that was the first time in which my queerness was accepted, no question. Amongst my white colleagues, I have to say. In the Black community, I think sometimes it can be a bit of more of a struggle to take, especially with Caribbean cuisine and dealing with a lot of Caribbean people. I find that I used to hold back kind of in the beginning of Bridgetown about being open about my wife and my life. But now I'm in a place where it's like, listen, I'm here and I'm queer and I'm Caribbean, so deal kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I mean, like Journey said, obviously we're Black. So, I mean, I don't really think I've had that much of an issue when it comes to that. I mean, with my queerness, I've always kind of been open about it. Going to culinary school in Charlotte, I went to Charlotte because it was a gay town, supposed to be a gay town. I guess the only struggles I mean, I don't know if they're struggles, but since I am more masculine identifying, I guess my male colleagues like to be broy with me.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
not that kind of queer. Like, I don't talk about women like that. You shouldn't either. Let me tell you why. We respect women. Yeah, that's really my main experience. Just like guys want to include me in all their conversations, and I'm like la 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 la.
Definitely understand that. I see. So I
Yeah.
mean, I think we all agree on that. Like I think for me, starting up as well, it was always the blackness, especially my name, Kareem Queeman. Instantly they either thought he's black or he's Muslim. Because you know my name is Muslim based, and then Queeman, they knew that wasn't nobody white or so they were just like, I don't know what that is. So it actually prevented me to get into a lot of doors. And that was one of the reasons why I actually had to relocate from New York City, surprisingly, to Washington, D.C., because I couldn't find a job opportunity doing like the things that I wanted to learn because nobody would call me back or they just wouldn't, answer my emails. This is back when you were doing emails and phone calls and we didn't have all the social media as you guys know. So it's early 2000s and things like that. And I think that I actually ostracized myself in my queerness because growing up in Harlem, having to deal with this, uber masculine, the man has to be this. My mother had two boys. My brother's older than me. And I just felt like you had to have this, even though like I was exploring what it meant to be a black gay man at the time, like, hanging out with other queers, in the ballroom scene and things of that nature. It still was something that we were shunned. So it was a lot of internalized homophobia for a really long time for me until I decided, like right after when my mom passed, that I was going to actually like create a space for people who look like me because I just had all these internal conversations or these like side conversations with other, specifically black men, right? Because that's what I had a lot of friends that were black men, black gay men, and we would have these conversations, and nobody ever felt fully comfortable being their selves in any space. So we would always come in fitted low, slacked out pants. We did everything else that our straight counterparts were doing, but nobody really wanted to be themselves because they saw everybody else get beat up. Do you guys agree that you guys kind of, if you did on your journey, I know some of you said you were kind of open in the beginning, but did you ever feel that you were ostracizing yourselves? You know what I mean? Like to protect yourself, to fit in, things of that nature, because I know I did. And I just was like, I have to break that.
I think for me, once my family found out, my ex-boyfriend threw me out the closet. I didn't have a coming out story. We broke up. I started dating women. I was actually cheating on him with women, but that's for my therapist. And so he told my parents I was a lesbian. And so I think at that moment, I just didn't care. I think this was like 2003. So I didn't care. And the cool thing about what I get to do now is I get to create this safe space for people to dine in, to work in my restaurant. And like one of the girls that came, she was like, I ain't never seen this many gay people in the restaurant. And it's not that I advertise to us, but it's just that we kind of attract each other. And I would probably say 60% of my staff are queer. About 92% are Black. So it's super exciting just to be able to create a safe space for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the nature of being Black and also female and also queer, there's kind of like a barrier in of itself that exists that people will choose to work with you or not just because of those three labels. So particularly in Los Angeles, I don't run into too many people who aren't comfortable with me because they're not going to approach me in the first place. So in that sense, the barrier is already there. I didn't have to create one. It exists just by who I am. And what's nice about that is that lends itself that people who do want to come work with me or people who want to collab with me, they've already gotten through that first barrier of who I am. So the next conversations are ones that are positive and inclusive and, not misogynistic, not homophobic, because they're already like through that first barrier of, well, she's Black, she's queer, she's female. So I got to get through all those hurdles and then respect her as a chef after that. So I think that that's enough barriers. I don't need to put any other barriers.
Definitely feel you on that. Flossie, do you want to add anything on that?
I mean, I just wanted to touch upon like, I mean, I came out to the Bay because I wanted to be more open with like my lifestyle. You know, living
Mhm.
in the South, like, yeah, people knew that I was queer, but like, I didn't feel like I could be my true self. So then I was like, let me move out to California. Let me come out to the Bay. And I felt like I've been able to be myself more. Um, I can tell, you know, if someone doesn't want to work with me, it's obviously because I'm queer, black, and gay. But I feel like being in the Bay, people are a little bit more accepting, you know, especially since the Bay is presented as more progressive, you know. I don't feel like the barrier is there as much when it comes to being uh queer and black in hospitality. So just wanted to add that.
I think
No,
what's
no, no, I
interesting for
appreciate
me is
that.
we
Go
have
ahead.
more hurdles. Personally, I have more hurdles as a woman than anything else. It's weird, and my queerness only becomes really an issue when it's Black people. Like, so it's
Mm.
almost like every
You said
other
it.
race, it's like, oh, that's whatever. But then, you know, I think, like I said, I posted on Instagram, it was like, oh, Black on, LGBTQ on. And I was just shocked at the response in 2024. I'm like,
Mm.
wait, and somebody's like, what does your sexuality have to do with this? And I'm like, guys, we aren't having sex with the food or the patrons. I just happen to be a queer Black woman. You can't eat here. I even made a post. I was like, the waffles won't make you gay. Like, I promise. Sir, if you leave here with another sir, it was not because of the wings and waffles. I guarantee you.
All right, you were supposed to be out like that. Um, and I'm glad that we're laughing at such a heavy moment because honestly, that was my next question, you know, about because you had mentioned that earlier, and I have that on my list. But I actually I deal with that a lot too, especially internally through other Black men or Black men, especially because we still are in a Black man, you know, men kind of leading the helm in the industry and a lot in savory than they are in pastry for me or baking. So even when people follow me and I've, you know, been kind of in these circuits meeting a lot of different chefs and they go, oh, so why do you feel that, you know, you need to put that up there? And I was like, well, first of all, that's me taking back ownership of something
Mhm.
that I felt that I was hiding, you know what I mean, from the world and from myself. Because like I said earlier, internalized homophobia, not really fully loving every part of me. And then also, I wanted to create a safe space for other Black men who I know are battling with the same things that I battle, especially the men who were raised in the 90s, well, you know, and beyond, you know what I mean? That or like 2010 or so and beyond, they're still struggling to this day. And like we said, Lisa, our therapist, that's why I'm still single, you know, because I'm still we're still battling those hurdles right now. So I know you guys said you talked about you are open about your sexuality to, you know, in your workspaces, you create space, you have employees and things that are queer. Do you guys see that you get a lot of response from Black queer folks saying like, I want to work with you, I'm proud of you, things of that nature? Like, how has that been for you just living your full lives, you know? Because you guys answered some of my questions, which is so great. So just how is that like living your full life and expressing your fullness, and how has that been received on the better part?
I mean,
I think. Oh, go
oh,
ahead. Go ahead.
oh, okay, all right. I mean, I want to say that like my experience at High Felicia tapped into like, you know, having Black people finding me to and like wanting to come work with me and like queer people finding me to come and work with me. Like once I was in that position of I'm running this restaurant, like that was dope because like I've never really had that feeling of like, oh, like I want to come work with you because you know you're doing this, you're doing that. But like Yeah, I mean, Hi Felicia was definitely where I got to experience that. And it made me realize that I want more of that, like when I open up my restaurant, like I want more people to be able to reach out and be like, hey, I've been following you, I see what you're doing. I would love to come work with you. I get that now, kind of, but I don't have like a brick and mortar yet. I just have this pop up and I'm like, now I'm just like, I guess adding people to a roster, like for when I eventually open up my spot, it's like, oh, so and so said that they wanted to work with me. So and so, like it's a great feeling, Yeah.
think Rashida, somebody's gonna say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, especially living in Los Angeles and having such a large Latino population, I find that it's not just young Black queer people who've reached out. It's a lot of young, just queer people of color in general who are interested in being a part of something that is queer led, that is LGBTQ led, that is women led, because they know that they're gonna be able to be themselves in that space. They know that we're not gonna have weird pronoun conversations. They understand um, that they will be welcomed with open arms and also given opportunities to succeed. I mean, I think the thing that's exciting about Bridgetown and us being able to open, hopefully this summer, is I want to be able to mentor young Black queer people and give them the opportunities that were blocked from me. If my dream is to someday be able to have enough money to be like, okay, you want to open your like queer-led El Salvadorian place, like let's go. You want to open your queer-led like Indian place, like let's go. So that's the real dream and exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. First, I don't know how we haven't hung out. Like we both live in LA. Rashida, what is up? So for me, it is a little bit different because I am feminine out like I don't look gay. Outside of my manly kitchen clothes. So a lot of people don't automatically know that I'm queer. And so it's kind of like once they find out, they're like, oh, okay, this is great. And to what Rashida said, I get a lot of queer people in general, like all across the spectrum. So that is cool. Even when they come into support or like when they find out that it's queer on, they're like, yes, oh, this is so great. So I do like the support from LGBTQ people, amazing. But the fact that I am a Southern inspired brunch restaurant and my target audience is mostly Black people, a big majority of my following or my clientele are heterosexual Black people. And they annoy me to no end. I mean, I just really want Black straight people to be normal because they are so weird. It's it's like, yeah, just be normal. I like girls. Like that's it. There's nothing deeper than that. I'm not trying to make your kid gay. I actually don't even like children. So why would I want them on my team? I just stop being weird. Straight Black people. That's my TED Talk.
You're making me laugh. You're gonna make me fly to LA tomorrow. I wanted to, if you could elaborate a little bit more on, I think we know, but like just for the people tuning in, what do you mean by, appearing or looking gay?
I have heterosexual privilege, right? So I don't go to the restroom and people tell me I'm in the wrong restroom like they do my girlfriend. My girlfriend has been kicked out of bathrooms before and she don't even look that masculine. Like, I mean, she might look like a 16-year-old boy, but she don't like no man. But it's, so like and there is a privilege that comes with appearing to be heterosexual. People don't judge me as harshly until they find out I'm gay. It's weird. I used to manage at Chili's, and my general manager at the time had no problems with me. When my girlfriend came in, he's like, "Who is that?" And then all of a sudden, he didn't want me by myself with the female servers, and I'm just like, "Dude, you're being weird. Like that is so weird." But yeah, so for me, it means that how you can look at somebody who's masculine presenting and you make these assumptions, they may or may not be wrong, but at the end of the day, we are human and we prejudge people based on what they look like. The first thing we see is race, right? We see your skin tone. And then the next thing we see is possibly gender, you know, whether it's gender fluidity or masculine, feminine, we see gender. And then, you know, we see all the things that trail behind it. So when people look at me, they do look at me and automatically categorize me as a straight Black woman.
Okay, I thank you for that, and I can piggyback on that because I get that as well too. Because I still wear my fitted caps with the Yankee emblem on it. You know what I mean? To the day I die. You know, I still wear, you know, masculine presenting clothes. 'Cause I like hoodies. I like oversized clothes, so I definitely get that, right? And it's so ironic you said it because for me, it might be the reverse in some parts. So when they do find out that I'm gay, then it's, oh, do you know how to Vogue? And do you want to do this? And then teach me how to do this. And they still do that in 2024. And I'm sitting here like, sis, I'm not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to teach you lingo and all of that so you can do, like, I'm not about.
I mean, they don't want you to put on their lace front and do their makeup.
You get what I'm saying? Like, they think I do all of this extra stuff, and I'm like, that's not me. Like, so thank you for explaining that for those who may not know what that means, especially because I know as us being a part of the Black culture, we understand what that meant, you know, appearing to be something else. So thank you for that. Anybody else want to tag on any of those points?
I think that's an interesting point, Kareem, because I actually think that effeminate gay men, that kitchens are the hardest spaces for them, even over sometimes us, because again, like Selassie said, they get that buddy, oh, we can talk about girls with you, you're one of the boys kind of vibe. And they feel like they can't share that with, you know, effeminate gay men who can't hide their queerness at all. And I think kitchens are the hardest spaces for them of all races, not just Black ones, but especially Black ones. And I think, so I purposefully search out effeminate gay men or queer men to work with, or just masculine presenting, because I feel like they have been disenfranchised the most in our industry in terms of, you know, what they're able to do. There's lots of, you know, there's many queer women, you know, award winners and James Beard award winners and stuff, but effeminate gay men are really not represented at all. And that's something that I'd like to see change. So.
I agree with you on that. You know, that is my actual plight and just living my full life. You know what I mean? Because they also automatically think you to be one thing. And then I come out and I go, no, actually, I actually do know a lot about this. And I do hone in on my feminine and masculine energy. And when I had a space that we wound up having to close last year, I was luckily enough, because we were talking about employees, I was lucky enough to employ, it was a small staff, but employ 2 Black men that were gay. And I loved it because we were able to create this space for us. And they said it. They was like, yo, I enjoyed working with you this past year and a half because I have never been in a workspace where I can actually was so relatable and so fluid. I can talk about my weekend going out with the guy and, you know, dating and doing all of this, and because you know exactly what I'm going through. And we were similar in ages. They was a little bit younger and one was a little bit older. So we were able to talk about all of that. And I felt good because honestly, I've never worked in a space with a bunch of Black gay men at that. I've worked with, you know, other queer identifying folks, but never another Black man who we can actually just sit there and talk about the things we go through. You know what I mean? And I had to remind them that, you know, please cherish this space that you're in, that I'm blessed to actually give to you and to receive for myself, because you may not get this again until you create this space for yourself and whoever else you bring on. So I definitely agree with you on that, Rashida and Jordan, because I literally, that was like one of my things. I searched out for them. I was looking for them. And I wanted to work with straight men or, you know, straight identifying men, because I was like, I need you to understand that not everybody's looking to talk to you. Because, you know, straight men, especially in the Black community, they would think that everybody likes them. And I'm like, do you understand? Just like you got a type, I got a type too, and you may not be that type, you know, like, please allow space for us just to be human. Before anything else, we are both human. I always tell people that, well, we're not going to get into a spiritual role with me, but that's just how I roll. Does anybody else want to tackle or say anything in regarding, you know, male presenting, female, queer presenting. I know Celeste, you identify as they, them. You know, how has that been? You know, because let me tell you something. I'll give you a backstory, and then please. I was introduced to somebody who wanted to be as a they them back before there was even the they them pronoun to be used, right? And it took me a while as a Black gay man just to get used to that, and respect the space of them, you know, in this bakery. But then we became really good friends. You know, I worked there for about 2 to 3 years, and we became really good friends, and we respected each other. And then I learned a lot about their journey, which made me respect and understand we are now in this space using pronouns of they, them, and respecting people for not even just gender identifying themselves, you know. And I know that's hard for a lot of older folks too. So have you had any kickback with you just, you know, telling people like respect me for my pronouns? Because I know.
Yeah, I mean, I get misgendered all the time. And I don't like blame people because most of the times it's just a mistake because like they honestly just don't know that my pronouns are they them until I tell them. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of like kickback or like pushback. I just know that like when it comes to certain opportunities, it's hard to like apply for something. Like I know that there's a lot of opportunities for queer Black women, but for queer Black non-binary people, queer Black gender expansive people, like it's still kind of like not really like there's nothing really for us. And that's the main thing that I struggle with, you know. Um like yeah, that's there's really not too much of a community either, especially when it comes to like the hospitality world, especially in fine dining. You know, I'm still kind of alone in the food world. You know, I do all these events that are for Black people, but like yeah, it's still a little hard, you know. I'm still on this journey myself, and I how can I word this? Like um damn, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I guess like I was saying, the main struggle is just that there aren't too many opportunities for queer, non-binary people and gender expansive people. Like it's feels like we're still left out of the equation. And I I just wish more people would realize that gender is more than male and female, you know. It's it's not black or white. It's very gray. Yeah, Th that's what I really wanna, like, touch upon is that, like, I don't have too many people to, like, talk to about this, especially in the Black community. Yeah, it's a struggle for sure. That's really I yeah, it's a struggle. Like, there's n not too many people to talk to. There's not a whole lot of things offered. Those are the, like, main things.
It's a struggle within the community too, because it's not just, you know, straight people who are misgendering. I find that lesbians are the worst. So
Yes.
something like, I mean, like it, like seriously. I had a trans man that worked with me when I was in the Ghost Kitchen, and I just recently hired a trans woman as a host. And it's easy when it is a trans man who now identifies as he, him, or a trans woman who identifies as she, her. When it gets into they, them, that's when it gets really complicated, and it gets complicated for us. And I feel like we should be the ones it should be the least complicated for. I can't figure it out. I can't make it make sense.
They don't really know. I think it's a lot of people don't want to learn or educate themselves. You know what I mean? They're so struck on this rigid mindset, and they don't understand that you, especially when it comes to the like especially Black community, like you have been ostracized and because of your Blackness, because you're a female, sometimes because you're a male, but a lot of times female more, right? And then now that you're queer, identifying gay, lesbian, whichever, and then you don't want to create space for, your trans, your non-binary folks, as if you don't know the struggle already that you had just existing in these two or three spaces, and like now they have this extra level of they have to fight through. So yeah, I want to ask one question because they are talking to me. Let me ask you a question. Do you, and then we're gonna go to Q questions. We have some questions. Did you ever think that you will be where you are today? And what helped you get there before we transition? And that's in your career, just in the culinary world, you know what I mean? Being owning your own businesses, coming out of the kitchen, starting your own businesses or concept, and Rashida being rewarded by and acknowledged by all these people. Did you guys ever think that you would be here?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I started waiting tables at 18. I worked from age 18 until obviously now, but even working in the restaurant field as a server, a bartender, when I got into my 20s, my whole family is like, okay, girl, what are you doing? Like for real, what's your life? Like it wasn't even looked at as a real job. And then the fact that I left the restaurant industry to do music and then went to LA to pursue a music career, it was like, okay, but you still don't have a real job. And like it's always been this thing. If somebody had told me, you're going to go to LA and you're going to open a restaurant, I would have been like, where? Like, show me the magic 8-ball. So I definitely I was pushed into this because of lack of promotion. So, after being in so many corporate restaurants and not being able to move up that corporate ladder, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop doing this for you guys and I'm going to start doing it for me. And also one of the last places I worked was a restaurant in the Valley, and it was Black woman, queer owned. I had never seen that. And representation is so important. Me at my big age had never seen anybody like who looked like me on paper do a thing like this. And she never worked in restaurants. I was like, oh, she can do it, then I definitely can do it. And here we are. But I never would have thought this would have been possible.
Yeah, also the answer is no. Never, ever, ever thought, especially since I spent most of my career working for white men. I had one female head chef my whole career, and other than that, it was men. Not all white men, but all men. And no black head chefs or anything that I had worked for. And that was like, I don't even know if it was a conscious or unconscious choice. I think I just kind of floated where people would call me back, because people didn't always call Rashida back when Rashida showed up on a resume. But it really was surprising that it took me cooking my culture's food for the world to recognize my talents and what I was able to bring to the table. It took me going back to myself, going back to my roots for the acknowledgement and the, awards to come, which I still am shocked every time I find myself on these lists. Especially since I don't even have the restaurant yet. I think that always shocks me that people acknowledge the struggle, because the pop-up game is a struggle, and it's not necessarily a lucrative time period, as when you're trying to build the business and build recognition. So the acknowledgement in the struggle has been the most surprising thing, I think, over the past 3 years, because the dollar bills ain't hitting yet, but the awards are. And so I'm excited for the convergence of those two things this year. I hope. I'm very happy to know that it took the food that my mom made to really find my whole self, because that's what I really have done, is like Bridgetown Roti has allowed me to find my whole self. And that has been the most rewarding thing in the past couple of years. So
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I never thought I could make it happen, to be working for myself. I definitely didn't expect to be cooking food from Ghana. I always thought I would have like a Italian restaurant or like a new American restaurant. Even though my parents were always telling me, "Oh, you should do food from Ghana. You should do food from Ghana." And I'm like, "But who wants that? Like no one really wants that." But like I mean, it now I see people want that, after working in all these kitchens and seeing that it's all the same food at the end of the day, and a lot of it's really not very flavorful and not that great. And I'm just kind of like, well, Black food is delicious. African food is, delicious. Everyone else is getting this recognition. You know what? Let me start seeing what I can do. I came out here because I wanted to do Michelin cooking, and I was like, well, no one's doing elevated, Black and African food out here. Like we have all these high-end restaurants, but no one's wanting to tell the Black and African story. And I'm like, well, it's time, like we are the originators of like pretty much everything, especially when it comes to food. So how can we have all these restaurants that are talking about food but don't want to talk about the people who were in the kitchens, cooking for them? So yeah, but to answer your question, no, I never thought I would be here. I never thought I would be in California, yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to all three of you on that. And that's so funny. We talk about dishes because that's one of the questions that we have. And it was, what is one of your favorite things to make off of your menu items, especially with Valentine's being just passed? Did you do anything romantic or anything of that nature? Or for Super Bowl, because I know Rashida was over there in Vegas, chopping it up with Pepsi big in. So yeah. What's one of your favorite things to make off your menu? You want me to start since you're thinking?
I think pasta is sexy. I think Italian is sexy. I like Lady and the Tramp, the whole spaghetti kiss. And of course, again, being from Texas, I make all my own seasonings and stuff in-house. So I have a like Creole seasoning. So like the Creole shrimp pasta with glass of Chardonnay, call it a day, get a little tipsy, but not too drunk to make things happen afterwards. So yeah.
Anybody else?
Journey, I'm mad we don't hang out. We gotta hang out. This is crazy.
It's the community over the piano. I love it.
No,
Literally.
we do. And my girlfriend and I always talk about how we don't have a lot of couple friends. So like we definitely
Listen, we
gotta
gonna
link up.
get on it. We gonna get on it. We
Y'all
gonna
better
figure
make
it
that happen is all I'm gonna say. Make this friendship happen. Make this connection
Yeah.
happen.
No, you're too funny. We have to be friends. My favorite thing right now, it's funny that you said pasta because I think my favorite thing to make is mac and cheese pie. I make, I don't mean to humble brag, but I think I make some of the best mac and cheese in the world. And every time I make it, I just get there's so much joy. And I remember specifically helping my mom with that on Thanksgiving. It was like making mac and cheese pie, and the way we do it, we bake it. We don't make it all cheese, like it's not cheese pull thing. It's a cake, you cut it. So I think because every time I do it, I always tweak it just a little bit. And it drives my cooks crazy because I keep adding grams of this and that to the recipe, and they're like, there's so many marks in this recipe. I'm like, I'm sorry. But that one I think is my favorite right now.
Okay. Pasta, do you have a favorite that you are serving up or have served up in the last 2 or 3 months?
That's a hard question because my menu changes every event that I do.
So maybe your last event or something. What was like one of the highlight dishes off of that?
I mean, any chance that I get to put suya in any representation on my menu, that may not be a dish, but just being able to use suya, I did a really refined suya skewer once, Wagyu beef with like a fresh coriander seed relish, because here in the Bay with coriander, like you can get the flowers and you can get the seed. So I was like, this is better than like actual like just like cilantro. Like I can do something really cool with that. And on my last dinner, I did a suya roasted pork belly with a peanut mole. So kind of like tying in like the Afro Mexican, style, because mole is really just a stew with nuts, mafe, peanut stew, it's pretty much a mole. So I was like, let me see what I can do here. And that was a hit dish. That was a popular dish. I think that might be one of my favorites for sure.
All right. I'm gonna go with, I just want to add my favorite dish because y'all got my mouth watering. I'm gonna go with like Rashida. A lot of my food is paying homage to my family. And because that's where my food story starts. And my aunt used to make a lot of sweet potato pies. And I took that recipe and made my sweet potato cake from. So I think I always enjoyed making that cake. And just like Rashida, there's always a little something I'm adding to try to change that up a little bit, or even like layering the flavors up a little bit between the layers of the cake. And I love the expression people get when they eat it. You know what I mean? Especially people who have never had a sweet potato cake before. So I love to just see that moment happen. And that really fills my heart because that's one of the other reasons why I got into pastry and baking was because of creating that long memory in people's mouths at the end of the meal. So a question that someone asked was, is there a particular food, cuisine, or cooking style that you all connect to queerness and liberation, or your queerness and liberation? If y'all want me to repeat that again. Okay. Is there a particular food, cuisine, or cooking style that you all connect to your queerness and liberation, or your queerness and liberation, or liberation of queerness? Liberation of queerness, excuse me.
I don't really think that there's a particular style for me that connects me to being free or being liberated as a queer person, but I think it's just the process for me of like Southern cooking. I think it's even when I'm with my cooks, I'm like, you can't rush it. Like you have to let the fire do what the fire does in the time that it does it. And there's something very sensual about the whole process when working with food, and like just the amount of love that's poured into it. Like I won't even let my staff touch my food if they come to work in a bad mood. I'm like, go eat something, take 15, and then we'll try it again. Like, because it's the energy work, it's what's put into it. And so I don't really think that there's anything or a style in particular that, it's like, oh, this makes me feel liberated as a queer person. But I feel like cooking soul food, like that low, slow, really letting the flavors kind of marinate and get into it. It makes me feel free. Like just cooking makes you feel free as a person, regardless of, your socioeconomic background or your sexuality or or my Blackness. I feel like, I don't know, like that episode of that part of Willy Wonka when they drank the sodas and they were like, it's like, oh, I'm high until it's a fan up there. But I don't know.
Okay. And everybody, you don't have to answer. If you don't have one, I've just, wanted to make sure that we touched on the questions that some of the listeners are asking.
I think pastry's super queer. I think pastry and baking is super queer. Anytime I make a cake, I feel super gay. I don't know. It's me. I feel like baking a cake is super gay. It just does. I don't know. I just feel anytime I'm decorating a cake, it's just, it attaches me to, and I'm learning as I've been kind of, I spent a lot of my coming out, I embracing the little girl in me who wanted to be a little boy. And now I've dealt with all that mental journey, I'm now in this place where I'm kind of leaning back into my feminineness. And that I feel that when I bake. I feel that when I decorate cake or pastry or, make a cute flower out of pastry dough. I feel it in that. So for me, that's where I get in when baking. That's my answer to that question.
You chose right, Kareem. You see that? Pastries make you gay. Guys,
Pastries
don't
make you gay.
Not pastries make you gay.
Oh,
Hey, don't eat pastries.
Not the pastries make you gay.
that took me out. Thank you so much, Rashida, for stamping my gayness. Thank you.
Yeah, stamp away. You got it. You nailed it. You're in the right one.
We have, Rashida, actually, there's a question that was directed specifically to you. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
you're going to answer that. It is, my family is from Barbados, so I'm aware many.
Family.
Okay. So I am aware many migrated to the UK, Canada, and the US, New York City, and stuff, etc. Rashida, what has been the response to Banji, Bajan?
Bayesian, honey. Bayesian.
Oh, why could I say that? So, dyslexia, don't just
That's all
listen.
right. That's all right.
Okay,
That's
food
all right.
in LA is so Bayesian food in LA. Is there large/growing community there?
There is community. It is small. It is older. A lot of the Barbadians or Bajans in the Los Angeles area tend to be older. I think the response from LA in general has been tremendous. I mean, I think one, Caribbean food in general is underrepresented in Los Angeles, and then two, like most of it's Jamaican, right? So like 90% of it is Jamaican, which is fine. I love Jamaicans. But the Caribbean has so much to offer, so many different cuisines. Every island has a different identity and flavor and things they focus on. So it's been a wonderful educating experience with people when people come and they're like, no, this is Bayesian. They're like, okay, what's Bayesian? So this is Bayesian. This is Trini inspired. This is a different type of Caribbean food. This has more Indian influence than Jamaican has. So the response from the greater LA community has been great, and it's been wonderful to be kind of an ambassador for Barbados in Los Angeles, in a very direct way, to the point where people think I was born there, even though I'm like, yo, no, I'm American. For a second, I can't claim that because then they'll yell at me from the island. But yeah, it's been the response has been really, really positive, and what I've noticed is that other Beijing people are coming out of the woodwork and being like,
Okay.
oh, I'm so glad you're here. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're doing this. Oh, I'm so glad you're representing. Some of the older ones are like, oh, you're not doing it traditional. And I say, well, go back home for that. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. That's the only backlash I've received, is that because I don't do rotis and patties exactly like they do it back home. Some older Caribbeans have criticized the way in which I interpret my Caribbean Americanness. And I think the first couple years we got a lot of that, and it's died down quite a bit, because once they taste it, they're like, okay, you're invoking the spirit of what the food's about. And that's kind of more important than it looking exactly like it looked, from your roti shop, in Bridgetown. So that has been a wonderful change that I've noticed in the past year, that our like older Caribbean people are embracing what I'm doing a lot more than they did in the beginning. And that was a struggle. That was a struggle we had to kind of get through. We got a lot of bad reviews from a lot of those people in the beginning, which was hard. But yeah, I think the community is growing, and now I'm meeting all these Bayesians and Korean Americans and Asian Americans who are like just excited to see themselves represented in this food, and it's been really great. LA is awesome.
Good. I want to say, just because you said, and I got two questions I want to ask before we end it, but I just want to ask you, how did you get over that hurdle of getting those bad reviews from, those natives or, descendants of people?
I ignored them. Yeah, like you kind of had to just keep on slogging and not really listen to them, because the larger response was positive. Our larger audience was positive. It was really a very small but vocal amount of people who were not happy with what the way I was interpreting cuisine. So I ignored them, and I believed in what I was doing. I stuck with what we were doing and how we were doing it. I knew more than them because I had been cooking for 12 years in restaurants, and I had learned from people, and I knew how to make flavors work. So I trusted my own experience rather than worrying about, theirs. So I always say, I don't know your grandmother. I don't know how she made her roti. I can't make it like her.
Isn't
All
that
the time.
interesting how we get that type of feedback? Like, y'all don't go to the Cheesecake Factory like, oh, I think you should do this to you, Alfredo.
Listen.
Each was like, well, the peach cobbler for the peach cobbler waffle, I feel like you need to add this. It's like you want me to get a pen and paper and be like, hold on, what you say? And then do what? All right, next time
Listen.
I'm gonna make it that way. Like the recipe is the recipe is the recipe. And I know you guys have a little more flexibility because you do pop-ups and you get to change the menu. And as a restaurant, you're gonna catch this consistency. So I
Mhm.
literally had a lady, she complained about everything, nothing tasted like anything. I stepped back because I thought she had COVID. But she's like, waffles taste like nothing, peach cobbler tastes like nothing, catfish tastes like nothing. It gave me all her feedback because she's a chef.
Mhm.
So is everybody back there. I mean, like, I don't know
Mhm.
what people kind of expect. So I just say, you know what? I'm gonna refund you because I don't believe that people, specifically Black people, should pay for something that they did not enjoy. And I will die on that hill. If you tried it, you didn't like it, even though she boxed it up and took the rest home. But I said, go ahead and refund it. And she said, oh, thank you so much. We'll be back. I said, oh no.
We'll be back.
We'll come back because the food's not gonna taste any different. And I said, I just think you
Right.
a restaurant that aligns better with your palate, and grits and waffles ain't it, and that's okay. Like it's okay to not everybody's going to like it, and that's fine. But don't come back here.
I definitely agree with you on
Listen.
that.
Told me how to cook
Okay.
all this stuff.
All right. I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we're gonna close out this. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. It was two questions, but I'm gonna ask this one. Outside of JBF and QFF, um, are there any organizations or groups you found a sense of community with?
Yes. Regarding her in Los Angeles. Regarding her was established during the pandemic by female restaurateurs who felt isolated by the situation and needed to find community. And they have created a wonderful community of feminine, I'm going to say feminine because there are non-binary members to Regarding Her, of feminine restaurant owners and restaurateurs. And that community has supported each other. They give each other jobs. They give each other opportunities. We share like vendor price. It goes down to like vendor prices. Like, hey, gloves are cheaper over here than over here. And just kept everyone together when things were really tough, especially this past year when there were a lot of restaurant closings. Really, like, it's just a wonderful community. I've met so many wonderful chefs and sommeliers and servers and people through Regarding Her. They have a wonderful academy program which they started, which gives a grant and then also is like a 10-week business course for women of color. So that organization, they have a branch in LA. They just started one in DC. I think they're gonna start one in Oakland, San Francisco soon. That organization has been tremendous in terms of community and has been welcoming to everyone, all walks of life, LGBTQIA plus. So Regarding Her, love them.
All
Hands
right,
Big
down,
just
fan.
for,
I will have
thank
to
you so
agree
much.
with
Just for the
you
sake
all.
of time, if you could just give us the name of the organization and maybe one fact why they've been so resourceful. If you anybody,
Regarding Her.
does anybody else have any organizations that they want to shout out and say?
That one is the one, like, especially being a woman in this culinary industry. I will say that even though I don't feel a huge sense of community, there is an effort there with the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, especially since the people who kind of run their events and stuff are Black, queer. Even though when you go to the events, they're mostly not people of color. But they get an A for effort. Like the intent behind what they're doing is great. It's just the space doesn't feel as community as regarding her now. But I would always say look into a Chamber of Commerce because it's always a good way to meet other people in the spaces that you're in to do what you do.
Well, they extended the time, guys, so keep it going. Anybody else?
I'm
If-
still looking for organizations. I'm still looking. So far, it's only QFF and JBF that are, making space. I mean, if I have to create the space myself, I'm here for it. But yeah, I'm still looking.
Yeah, I would have to say that same thing. I actually am still looking. I've been in a few spaces here in DC, but not something where I feel that it's us. It's us, people of color, people are queer, or just restaurateurs, or anybody just as a chef or aspiring. So I haven't really found that space. And just like you said, Selassie, I feel like that I'm gonna have to be the one to create that because we know each other. We all know each other. We all show up and support. But no one say, okay, on Mondays or whatever, let's all band together and create this space for us just to exist, and then move it to channels that we can do, like the organization regarding her, like we can email resources and support to one another. So I actually am still looking for that. So I will agree with you on that in that space. We have another question, and it was, how do you not allow Black stereotypes / assumptions pigeonhole your culinary creativity? I feel like Rashida's going to say she do whatever she wants to do, but go ahead.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I do whatever I want to do. Don't try to hold me back.
She said,
I ain't
"Don't
got
put me in the
time for
box."
it. Don't put me in the box. And it's funny because now that I got all these opportunities doing Caribbean food, I do feel like I have to be in the Caribbean box. But I had an interesting I saw an interesting interview with Sola, formerly of Bon Appetit, and she was talking about how, like, the real progression is when the Indian chef, the Indian female chef doesn't have to do Indian food anymore, or the Black Caribbean chef doesn't have to do Caribbean food. Like, they open an Italian restaurant, and that's because white men have been doing it forever, right? Men have been dabbling in whatever cuisine they want for as long as forever, and nobody bats an eye. But as soon as we step out of our own cultural lane, then it's like, whoa, 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 what you doing? So, that's the next step. I see Tiffany Derry open her Italian restaurant in Dallas. I'm like, yes, girl, go get it. Go get that boy's Italian food, and you make it better. So, I think that's really the next step. That's the next progression.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean,
What I took and I cook like what I look like. So I don't. I haven't progressed. So yeah. Now I like to eat all the cuisines, but I stick to good old Big Mama's Southern soul food cooking. A brunch for the most part. Like, people are like, oh, you got Black Eyed Peas here. No, we are a brunch restaurant. We are doing breakfast and brunch items. So it's not Sunday dinner, even though y'all eat Sunday dinner at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's okay.
yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on what Rashida said. I cook whatever I want. I know being out here, everyone's asking me, do you know how to make fried chicken? Like, you came from the South, like, can you teach us how to make fried chicken? And I'm like, well, first of all, fried chicken is not the only Black food. And then on top of that, no, I'm not gonna teach you how to make fried chicken. But I feel like I've been able to just, cook whatever. I'm applying fine dining Michelin techniques to African food that I grew up eating, because it's non-existent, like, I want to be, like, I don't like to use the word elevate, but I want to put our food in the space that I feel like it belongs and give us the recognition that we deserve. But yeah, I cook whatever I want. I don't think we should be put in boxes. I don't think we should be pigeonholed to cook only Black food, cook only African food. Like, if I want to have some Japanese influence on my menu, then I go ahead and do it. Why? Because I've worked with Japanese chefs, Why would I not want to add that to my repertoire? Like, Yeah.
100% agree with you, especially me coming from like New York City. You know, people, I do cook a lot of, you know, like Southern or American, you know, baked goods. I'm actually known for custom cakes, which is another anomaly to a lot of people too, you know, because the cakes actually look like something. And then they taste like something. But I also like to influence, I like to put in, you know, some things from the Hispanic, you know, Dominican grew up right around like my neighbor who taught me a lot, you know, was Dominican. She's still here. She taught me a lot about Dominican cakes and using that and how it's similar, but a little bit different. Everything's just a little bit different. We talked about that earlier in our discussion. And I'm like, why can't I do that? If I was influenced by that, I work with these people. I love eating their food. Why can't I also incorporate? Because that's part of my food story and journey as well. So definitely agree with you on that. And I think sometimes we just pigeonhole ourselves in the box, you know, and it's okay if you feel comfortable in that space. No one's saying you should go ahead and be and do something else, but if you don't limit yourself because you think that other people aren't going to eat it, accept it, or accept you for making it, you know what I mean? Whatever that cuisine is. So yeah, ain't no feeling like feeling free, baby. And then I'm gonna close it out with one question. This last question actually is any advice for being your own boss, if you could?
Self-care. Make sure you make time for yourself. Like being your own business will run you down, but make sure you always make time for you. Also ask for help. Try and find people who are going to be in your corner. Find people who you can have conversations with. This is a lonely game. It's hard, especially if you're trying to do it all by yourself. It's not possible. I'm learning that now. You can't do it all by yourself. You have to ask for help. You have to reach out to your network. You have to reach out to your people. You have to be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me out? What do you know? Like, don't be afraid to ask for help and take care of yourself. Self-care. That's two top things that I would definitely say.
Don't do it. Read some literature on the subject. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I opened my restaurant 2 years ago. We just celebrated 2 years. And when I tell you this has literally been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, not only on me, but also on my relationship. I agree. Self-care, and I'm only saying this because I literally just started practicing this a month ago. Like everything and it took me to the point where I was almost going to self-destruct if I didn't start practicing self-care. You have to have people, you have to have somebody in your corner that you trust to tell you when you need to shut the hell up, when you need to do something different. You need to have that person. You need to listen to that person. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to do a whole bunch of it. There are people who are out there who have done what you're trying to do and they've done it well. Do what they did. They did all the grunt work. They did all the hard work. Listen to those people. Find your small business development center. Get those resources. The first 2 years of having your LLC, you ain't finna get nothing. You ain't getting no loans. You ain't getting no, literally, I cannot think of anything in the world that would be harder than opening your own business, being your own boss. The only thing I can think of is trying to be straight again. Like that's probably the only thing harder than this.
Thank you, Journey. I don't even know how you end off with that. That was so good. Rashida, do you have anything?
My answer is the same as them, and I don't need to say anything. Well, that we good. You end the session. That's it.
Yes. Definitely. Thank you. I mean,
Help. Ask for help. Ask for help. You never know who you've already met who can help you.
Exactly.
Ask every single person you've ever met in your life, and I have to go, but ask for help.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, my panelists, for being here and for taking this time out to speak to all of us. And congratulations to you all. And thank you to my listeners for listening in. I'm gonna close it up, send it over to Vanessa. So Rashida, we got like 1 more minute, and Vanessa from QFF is gonna close us out. And thank you again, everybody.
Amazing conversation, riveting, hilarious, community centered. It was great. I'm over here cracking up the whole time. But thank you everyone for coming. Just want to give a few house notes for Queer Food Foundation. We are in the midst of our Queer All Year fundraiser. This is our QFF fundraiser to keep us afloat, administration costs, program fees. So this is our fundraiser of the year. So please find us online, our social media, Queer Food Foundation. Please donate, share with your friends, so we can keep this amazing work, these programs that we have going. We have a lot of events coming up. This is just February. The year is just starting. So please stay tuned with us. Stay tuned with James Beard Foundation on some really great collaborations we have coming up, and also just our communities and our organizations separately, what they have coming up as well. But yes, thank y'all so much for being here, and have a great night.
Rashida had to go.